So I want to talk about one of the crazier interactions I had at Voltage Video Games. And for those of you who don't know, I am the owner and I personally managed Voltage Video Games. So I was frontline, retail employee for a number of years. And I want to say it was back in like 2017. I had an interaction with a customer that strikes me as one of the more ridiculous ones. There's some other ones too. If people like this content, I'll maybe do some more stories, and I apologize that like some of the details are a little fuzzy. I believe this. I mean, it happened a couple of years ago, so some of it's lost to time. But this guy came in. He had some like last gen games. So I think it would be PS3 then. So he had some PS3 games. I remember they were all like mediocre, and this guy came off as like generally sketchy. Um, they were mostly mediocre games, nothing very valuable, and they were in rough shape. I remember rejecting quite a few games. So I'd look at them. This one's too scratched. Nope. This one I could probably salvage or buff or make use of. All right. And I told him, I don't know how much you're gonna get. And that became really important because he mentioned like, oh, I really want to get this new not MLB. What's the show on PS4? Yeah, like the new one, or maybe even it was the newest one on PS3 at the time, and they were still making them. I can't quite remember. It must have been like 2018 or 2019, but it was the new one had just come out, maybe a month earlier, and it was still like $50 new something. Or sorry, he was looking at a used copy, so like $50 used, and he's like, "Oh, well, I really want to get this $50 the show. Like, what do you think?" And I'm looking at his stuff, and I'm like, I'll be honest with you. I don't think you're gonna get there. You could like take the credit and like some cash and maybe make that work." And he's like, "Well, am I short like $5 or $10?" And I'm like, looking at his stuff, and I'm thinking like, he's gonna be lucky to get like $20 here. So no, dude, you're probably looking at. I don't want to give you an exact, but I don't think it's going to be more than like $20 worth. So you're gonna be pretty short. And he's like, I'll have to come back for that. Yeah, I'll definitely be coming back for that. So I finish out the transaction, and stuff I don't really want. I mean, we're gonna buy some of it and salvage what we can. But I remember like the stack that I wasn't buying was like twice as tall as the stack I was buying. So I was buying like a third of his games, and like two-thirds were like going back to him. And I'm like, yeah, I can't really do much with this stuff. Sorry, you can hold on to them. And I remember paying him out, and he's like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be back for that other game. And I'm like, yep, no problem. I mean, hopefully it'll be here. We only have the copy. And he's like, yep, yep, yep. And then like he went on his way. We did our paperwork. He went on his way. Um, I can't remember if it was the next day or the day after that, but it was like in short order. I saw him on like a Thursday or Friday, and then he was back on the weekend. So he comes in, and he's not dealing with me. He's dealing with one of my coworkers, and I overhear it though because it's like a big issue. The guy comes in, he has the show, like the one he was like looking at wanting to buy, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I bought this, and you guys didn't stock the CD. Like, what the hell? You just like I can't believe it." And and the employee there is like, "Oh, don't worry, I got you, I got you. Yeah, like that's not going to be a problem. That happens once in a blue moon. We're really sorry. Blah blah blah. Let me just." And I actually came over, and I'm like, "Hey, yeah, like I thought you weren't going to get that." And he's like, "Oh no, I came back and got it. I came back and got it." I'm like, "Oh, really? When? Like, it's only been like a day." And what's funny is over the course of this conversation, like he said, he kind of mixed that he had come back and gotten it, and that he had gotten it when he was there. And when he said that second part, I'm like, wait, no, you didn't get it when you were here. And he's like, oh yeah, yeah. And it like wasn't clear. And he's like, look, I bought it. Like, I don't, but you didn't put the CD in. Like, what the hell, guys? Like, what the hell? And we can look up when someone buys a game from us. Um, and so we did. And we had never sold that game. It was new enough that we'd only ever gotten one copy and we hadn't sold it yet. And the second we did that, that's where, I mean, it's obvious to anyone listening too. And it was obvious to me that, like, we didn't sell this. What? Oh, did he like take the game? And now he's just coming back in the next day to be like, oh, I didn't have the CD. And it was fairly obvious to me that that must be what was happening here. And he starts like I said, like, well, it doesn't look like we ever actually sold it. And he's like, what are you talking about? Dude, you talked to me for a while. And I start like self-doubting myself because he's like, he's pushing hard. He's like, dude, I was talking about this game. You were here. And by the way, that like whether he bought it the day of or like the next day, I don't know if it was that clear that there was a discrepancy. I just remember his story like not fully adding up on when he came back, and maybe he didn't expect me to be there and me to remember or something, or he thought he could just get away with it, or that we didn't have like a computer system that would manage that. But the funny part was he started then turning and going like oh, like his tactic changed to like, since he wasn't just getting the CD right away, he's like, I'll embarrass these guys and that'll make them give me the CD and get and be on my way. Ha ha ha. So he starts like loudly like turning and going like, wow, it just really seems like this establishment's trying to steal my game from me. I paid for a game, I didn't get a game. That seems like pretty bad business. All right, I'm gonna stop shouting. It seems like pretty bad business. And we're like, no, no, dude, like, well, I mean, one, like, you don't have a receipt. And he's like, oh, well, I must have lost the receipt. So, like, sue me. Like, that's not my fault. Like, maybe you never get, like, I don't remember even getting a receipt, he said, which people say all the time. And we're like, well, we also don't have a record of selling it. And he's like, well, I certainly bought it. So, like you saw me come in with it. So, like, I clearly bought it and you didn't give me the CD. Probably one of your guys there like pocketed the CD just to get a free game, which is crazy if you know anything about us. Cause like, one, like people that work at game stores don't tend to like games like sports games and tend to be less into like Call of Duties and stuff like that as well. We tend to be more like the RPG types and whatnot. I mean, we've had people that have played like Call of Duty and mainstream games as well, but like, yeah. And then we also get like discounts and we can like hold games and borrow games. Anyway, so he's doing that thing. He's trying to embarrass us. And then he has a genius idea. Oh, I know. Like you could just check your cameras if you really wanted to prove it. Like you would see, like I bought the game and blah blah blah. Oh, he must have actually said I came back like the next day. It must have been like 2 days because he said like you can just check the cameras yesterday or whatever it was. Um, and so I remember that my reaction was like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I'll check the cameras. No worries. We'll figure out exactly what happened and like we can check the cameras. And he's like, yeah, you you should. You should check the cameras. Like you'll see exactly what's going on, and you'll see that I wasn't given the CD. So it would be much easier if you just gave me this game right now, and then you check the cameras on your time, and like you'll see what happened, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I mean, in fact, let me hold on to the game. And I remember pulling the game and being like, I'd like to hold on to this because, like, I don't think I sold it, but the cameras will tell the whole picture. And like, just wait here, and I'll look at the cameras. It won't take very long. He's like, well, I really don't have time for this. It seems like you're trying to steal a game from me. I paid for it, and I'm not gonna get. I'm like, dude, look, give me 15 minutes. That's it. I will profusely apologize and grab your CD if we determine like if I see that we screwed up. He's like, all right, but well, again, like, just seems like bullshit. And I'm like, just give me 10 minutes. And you could see, like, I started to detect, like, he started to be like, huh. Like, I think he thought we didn't have cameras. I think that's what he thought. And so he thought it was a genius move to be like, I'm going to call your bluff, check your fake, like your non existing cameras or whatever. And it's like, yeah, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, sounds good. Let's check the cameras. So I go to check the cameras. One of my coworkers comes back like 5 minutes later. Sorry, not even 5 minutes, like a couple minutes later. He's like, the guy said he had to go. And I rushed out. I'm like, hold on. Let me grab your number real quick. Cause like when I figure it out, I'm going to want to call you. Right. He's like, yeah. And so he writes down his number. Okay, great. And we already have all of his information, by the way, cause remember that, he traded in something like 2 days earlier and we keep like your ID on record. So, cause you guys already know what's going to happen. Well, at least you may have an idea. So I checked the cameras. And I remember checking the cameras when he said to, and I don't see him. And I'm like, let me check the cameras on a day he was trading in. Because I think that's actually what's going to be what gives it like, yeah. So I do that. And what I see is, so he had all those games that we weren't taking, right? And he had the game that he wanted. And at some point, I see him slide the game that he wants, the ML the show, under the stack of games that he's not we're not accepting, and then he pulls it off and he kind of now he has the games underneath the counter a little bit. They're games that we didn't want, so like we don't notice. And yeah, then he takes his money, he signs his thing, and he walks on out with our case. And I say case because like anyone that knows voltage knows we don't keep the CDs in the case. So he walks out with an empty case, and then I guess later decides like, oh, I'll just go back in and say that they didn't stock it. That'll trick these nerds. It's like, no, it's not how it works. So yeah. And then so I have his number, right? And I do something I now regret doing where I call him and I tell him like the jig is up, basically. I say like, oh hey, I don't remember his name. Let's call him John. Sure. I said, hey John, just giving you a call to let you know that I did check the cameras and I saw you steal our case and I guess now you're back to like complete your fraud. And I guess I'll just be calling the police and filing a police report. I have your name and your address and everything, and if because you traded in stuff. So if by any chance your address on your ID is wrong, it's not current anymore. If you can give me a call back and just give me your address, so like your updated address, so I can let the cops know where they can find you. To file because I'm pressing charges for theft. Okay, cool. Well, and also thanks for returning the game because that's great. Um, thanks. And you're not welcome here anymore. Bye. Click something to that effect. And I wish I hadn't because like it would have just been easier to call the cops, ask them to come, like, or rather, it would have been easier to just not give him a heads up that like, hey, the cops might be knocking on your door. Um, and the funny thing was, we did actually file that police report. It's figured we should. And the cops were like, "Well, he didn't actually steal anything then. Not because it had been returned. Like they got that, but they were like, well, it doesn't have the game. It doesn't have the CD, so he just stole a case. So it's actually not worth anything." And I had to make the point, like, without the case, we couldn't sell the thing, and also it's part of the value of the thing. Like the cops, like sometimes they knock on people's door about stuff like that, sometimes not. In retrospect, now like I probably wouldn't if I had to do it again, but we were pissed off, and the cops never followed up, so they probably didn't do anything about it. Anyway, yeah, so I guess it worked out fine. But yeah, that's one of the crazier interactions I've ever had at Voltage. We've definitely had like crazier, but that one really sticks in my mind because it was just so like you gotta be just really brazen to come back in with a stolen thing and then ask for like the CD. And then to tell me to check the cameras. That's just, ugh. Well, fun story though. All right, bye.